Hello, my name is Antonio Hall, and this presentation outlines the research I will be undertaking to understand the relationship between sports chaplaincy and welfare provision amongst Rugby Football League match officials. My research question will be, to what extent does sports chaplaincy provision contribute to facilitate wider welfare support for the Rugby Football League match officials? In my preparation, I have been considering the approaches and methodologies that can be used when conducting research in order to decide on the most appropriate. In order to decide which path is best suited, I need to consider my ontological and epistemological position. Densel and Lincoln, 1998, explain ontology as a way of constructing reality to discover how things really are and how things really work. One approach is likened to the role of a scientist who uses objectivist or realist ontology, where the focus is on facts. Bryman, 2016, explains that objectivism is an ontological position that asserts the social phenomena and their meanings have an existence that is independent of social actors. The other approach is likened to the role of a detective would employ, constructionist, or relative ontology. Bryman 2016 explains that constructionism asserts that social phenomena and their meanings are continually being accomplished by social actors. In other words, the researcher would present a specific version of social reality rather than one that can be regarded as definitive. Epistemology concerns the question of what constitutes acceptable knowledge and can contribute towards the research outcomes and conclusion. A scientist would employ positivist epistemology and would generate hypotheses that, as Bryman 2016 explains, can be tested, thereby allowing explanations of laws to be assessed or deduced. In contrast, the detective would employ interpretivist or subjective epistemology. Bryman also explains that this adopts a view that the subject matter of the social scientists, people and their institutions, is fundamentally different from that of the natural science and therefore requires a different research procedure to reflect the distinctiveness of humans. Therefore, I have to make a choice between being a scientist or being a detective. The subject of welfare concerns human emotion, and I do not believe that this can be researched from a purely scientific viewpoint. Human beings do not always behave rationally or according to a set of rules, and I believe that the role of detective is more appropriate for my research. Therefore, my ontological position will be constructionist, and my epistemological position will be interpretivist. Having settled my role as detective, I now need to decide on my methodology approach to my research. There are two methodologies available to social research, and these are categorized broadly as quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative research aims to gather, measure, categorize, and analyze data from which conclusions may be drawn. The methods of gathering this data are structured, for example, through the use of questionnaires and structured interviews. The sample size is generally large, and these methods aim to answer questions such as how many or how much. Conversely, qualitative research seeks to understand some aspects of social life. Its methods may generate words rather than numbers as data for analysis. The methods of gathering this data are through the use of participant observation with small samples. They can be semi-structured or unstructured interviews, focus groups, and documentary analysis. Qualitative methods aim to answer questions about the what, how, or why. It is possible also to mix the methods, and it can be powerful to back up quantitative data and qualitative research that seeks to understand people's experiences, different perspectives and attitudes. In terms of my research subject, I want to explore match officials, managers and coaches' perceptions and experiences of how sports chaplaincy provision contributes to the wider welfare support for match officials. I also want to explore what welfare provision exists through the departments of the Rugby Football League and how these provisions can be harnessed in conjunction with the chaplain in order to improve the match officials' physical, mental and spiritual well-being. I believe that this type of research methodology is more suited to a qualitative approach, and my method will therefore be conducted on a semi-structured basis. I have identified the following literature that will help me in my research. In Read and Use, The Values and Benefits of Sports Chaplaincy in Australia uses a constructionist approach to explore the links between sports chaplaincy programs, sporting organisations, local churches, and the local community. It assesses the values, benefits, and contributions that sports chaplaincy brings to the Australian sporting culture. It adopts a qualitative approach using case studies and semi-structured interviews with chaplains, stakeholders, players, and club officials from different sporting clubs. Gamble et al., Revs and Psychos, Role Impact and Interaction of Sports Chaplains and Sports Psychologists within English Premiership Football also takes a constructionist approach and a qualitative methodology. It researches the impact and interaction between sports chaplains and psychologists working in the footballing world, and it identifies potential for working together in a way that may bring mutual benefit to one another. In Sebbins et al., Mental Health in Sport, Improving Early Intervention Knowledge and Confidence of Elite Sports Staff. This research paper documents both the input and output of a joint initiative designed to support coaches and other sporting staff who work with elite athletes and teams. Through the organisation of several mental health in sport workshops, coaches and support staff were presented with materials and methods with the aim to increase their knowledge of the signs and symptoms of common mental illnesses and to enable those to be more confident in helping those who may be experiencing a mental health problem. In Lundqvist and Sandin's Wellbeing in Elite Sport, this study examines subjective, psychological and social well-being among 10 elite orienteers. The research employs a mixed methodology. The research highlights the links between the social well-being of the athletes and the importance of being accepted unconditionally as part of a team and being enabled to exchange experiences with those team members. Some athletes describe their teammates as family who shared their interests and provide support and motivation. Athletes stress the importance of a holistic view that both sport and non-sport related factors influence their well-being. That's it. That's a hoot. My 10 minutes are up. Thank you for listening.